All right, hello everyone. Welcome to hashtag Play On Breakout Sessions. My name is Sarah Swisher, and I am the East Project Coordinator at East. This breakout session is sponsored by Windstream.
And I'm April. I'm the Communications Coordinator at East.
And we're your moderators. So take the time to familiarize yourself with the different features offered through Zoom. We'll be here to answer your questions in the chat and help troubleshoot any issues. Most of our questions will be addressed at the end of this session, so make sure to put them in the Q&A portion of Zoom, or if you're viewing us from Facebook, go ahead and put it in the comments and we'll get to them.
So before we begin, we want to recognize our virtual breakout session sponsor, which is Windstream. Windstream is a leading provider of advanced network communications and technology solutions for consumers, businesses, enterprise organizations, and wholesale customers across the United States. The company supplies core transport solutions on a local and long-haul fiber network spanning approximately 129,000 miles. Thank you, Windstream, for sponsoring our virtual breakout session. If you're unfamiliar with East and you've decided to tune in today, thank you. Here's just a little bit about East so you know what you're getting. East is an educational nonprofit headquartered in Little Rock, Arkansas. We put industry-grade technology into the hands of students, and we send them out into the community to do service projects and solve problems. With 259 programs spanning 4 states, that's Arkansas, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, and Oklahoma, we provide all learners with the opportunity to have relevant, individualized, and life-changing educational experiences. Today's life-changing and educational experience will be led by Mr. Wade Ward. Wade is an East facilitator at Parson Hills Elementary in Springdale, Arkansas. Wade has had the opportunity to work with some of the most amazing students on designing, creating, and innovating projects and programs that have substantial impact on their community. More than anything, he wants to see all of his students have the opportunity to follow their passions, regardless of what they look like, where they come from, or who their parents might be. He works every day to develop students who will one day be the decision makers, not only for their local community, but worldwide. Joining Wade, we have Catalina Peterson, Natalie Hernandez, and Madeline Sassanasi. They're all from East at Don Tyson School of Innovation. Catalina Pearson is a senior at Don Tyson, and she's an active member of the Girls Can Too project. Natalie is also a senior at Don Tyson, and she's active in Coding Takes Flight and the Girls Can Too project. Lastly is Madeline, and she's in 7th grade at Don Tyson and is active with the Social and Emotional Learning Project in partnership with the IES Foundation, which stands for International Youth Education and Sports, and she's also active with the Girls Can Too project. Wade and ladies, if you guys are ready, take it away.
Hey, so it's really great to be here with you guys today. My name is Wade Ward, and I am the East facilitator at Parson Hills Elementary School. This is my first year there. It's a new program. It's been a wonderful year. Have some great kids, and we got to work on some incredible projects. What I'm here today to talk to you guys about with this great group of panelists is a project that we've worked on over the last couple of years, including last year at the Don Tyson School of Innovation, called Coding Takes Flight. I have with us 3 of the participants of that program: Catalina Peterson, Natalie Hernandez, and Madeline Sassanasi. And I'd like for them to just take a couple minutes, if they would, to talk a little bit about themselves, what they've done, and how they've contributed to our Coding Takes Flight project. If we could, can we go Catalina, then Natalie, then Madeline?
Yeah, definitely. Hi guys, my name is Catalina Peterson. I'm a senior at the Don Tyson School of Innovation. I've been in an East program since 7th grade, and I've been working on Coding Takes Flight since it began last year. I've really been helping out with going to the sessions and having these students, kind of mentoring them for each of these sessions that we host.
I am Natalie Hernandez. I am a senior also at Don Tyson School of Innovation. I have been in East for about 4.5 years. I was kind of in and out my ninth grade year. So I've been working with Coding Takes Flight and Girls Can Too since the beginning of last year. So about for 2 years now. I was more of a leadership role. I was in charge of scheduling, getting sessions done, and being able to outreach and get people interested in the community be involved with it.
And I'm Madeline, and I've been in East for the past 2 years. Last year, kind of halfway in, halfway out with not a full class, but I have been kind of the bridge between the student and the mentor. Since I am a lot younger than the other students in the project, I was able to connect to the younger elementary students and be able to have fun with them while also teaching them and show them the dynamic between the projects.
So in the, I believe, fall of 2018, we started this project with the desire to increase STEM awareness for our young female students. We looked at some research. We tried to kind of figure out our demographic, our target audience. We started with middle school girls, and we kind of decided that might be a little bit too late. Studies show that really once the time they get into middle school, they might have already made some of those decisions that are going to lead them away from the path of STEM. So we decided instead to start working with upper elementary aged female students, 3rd through 5th grade. And I really feel like that was a pretty substantial move for us. I think that was the right target audience and a group that really accepted the message that we were trying to share with them. It was great working with the younger kids. I know that Catalina has a younger brother. Madeline, I believe, has some younger siblings. Natalie, I don't think does. But it was kind of neat to see the girls interact with some of the younger students and really become the mentors that they were trying to be. I think Madeline hit on a really interesting point. She last year was a 6th grader helping to run a program that was meant for 3rd through 5th graders. A lot of times she was a couple of months older than some of the girls she was training. And in some situations, she was even younger than the girls we were training, because we also had last year a great opportunity to present at the Girls of Summit, or the Girls of Promise Summit in Little Rock, where we presented to 8th graders. Madeline was a 6th grader presenting to those girls. So it was really kind of neat to see how that worked. If we could, I'd like to have Catalina kind of talk. She had a couple of talking points that I wanted her to hit on, just about the importance of this project, what it meant to her as far as being a senior, and we kind of go from there.
Yeah, definitely. So coming from my background of not having a lot of STEM in my life and in my family, this project has kind of shown not only that I'm capable of myself of mentoring younger students, but also that I'm capable of doing other technologically advanced activities. So it's kind of nice to be the mentor that I never really had when I was younger. And so that this project has shown me that I'm capable of doing those kind of things. And project is very important within our community, because we are trying to kind of lessen that gap of women in STEM. So it's crazy to think that more than about half of all of college educated students are female, but only about 26% of them go into STEM related fields. So to see that kind of like startling statistic kind of thing really makes me think that I want to try and help our younger generation be what I didn't think I could be. And going into college and being a senior, that has really helped show that I can also be a part of that STEM related field.
Unmute myself. I think it's just important that these girls are not only given the opportunity, the younger ones, but I think it's really vital that these young ladies have had the opportunity to become those mentors and see what that is and see kind of the process of what that means to some of the younger girls. The last program that they visited last year was actually the program that I'm currently, or the last school they visited last year was the program I'm currently at this year. And being able to talk to the girls at my school now that went through that program, it's apparent how powerful the program was. We have a great relationship. We had a great relationship this year between the School of Innovation, Parson Hills, and Shaw Elementary School also, where we did a lot of things together. And it was really neat to get to see the younger girls working with the older girls. And that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. I'm going to go ahead and let Natalie talk real quick kind of about the process of the program, how we got it started, how we got it off the ground, what we thought our expectations were in the beginning, and how we kind of exceeded those expectations and did something that we didn't really think was possible.
So for our first session that we initially had was about 2 hours long. It started at 9 o'clock and ended around 11:30. And we realized that that wasn't really possible for us to take away so much school time from the mentors and the people who were coming to our session. So our first pilot, we kind of saw how it worked, worked out all the kinks and everything, and we were able to shorten down the session to an hour. So from there, once we had an hour long session and being able to actually have all the curriculum fit into it and have an actual solid plan, you're able to start outreaching and have more schools involved. So how this worked, we presented at a STEM conference for Springdale School District, and that's when we started getting a lot of interest. So we had emails back and forth from multiple schools trying to get a spot into our calendar. So this took a lot on our part, being super organized to be able to make sure we were getting every school that was interested in, and finding a time that us students would be able to take time off of school and be able to go to those schools. So we had around 12 female students who were part of the team, and most of them were upperclassmen. And an advantage of being upperclassmen is that you're not necessarily have to be in class as much as the younger students. So about 6 of us were juniors last year, and we were able to get out of class easier than the younger students. So being able to do that allowed us to go out to more sessions, be able to reach over 1,000 students. So as we started brainstorming for this year, we realized that that's not really sustainable for us to keep doing. We can't leave school for the younger students and us to continue this program. So that's where we started coming up with the idea of Girls Can Too, which the whole entire concept of the Girls Can Too is having the young female students within the schools that we went to last year, then becoming mentors to their own peers. So we saw that at Parson Hills, Shaw Elementary. Those girls who were a part of our program last year, who took real leadership roles, we left it up to them and gave them curriculum and gave them help for them to have their own sessions with the younger students. They did Spheros, they did drones as well. We saw teachers being able to find grants to buy drones for their own classrooms and be able to have that curriculum installed into their own classrooms. So it went from a 2-hour long session shortened down to an hour, reaching over 16 schools in Springdale District, and then down to each individual school that we have has their own mentors and their own building, being able to trickle down all the way down to the younger students.
I think that's really the powerful thing about what we're trying to do. We really wanted to impact as many students as we could, and I think we did a really good job with that last year. But how does it continue to go? How does it continue to grow? Those are the really important things. We didn't want this project, we think it's bigger than a project. We really think this is a program. We didn't want this program to die. The girls have worked way too hard on it. They don't want to see this fade away with them. Madeline does not want to see this fade away, and that's great. I think looking at number one, the situation with drones, sometimes that can be seen as a little bit of a negative connotation. I do have a commercial drone pilot's license, which made it a little bit easier for us. And the past few years, I was also the drones instructor at our school, which gave me a little bit of an advantage, but this does not have to be about drones. Like Natalie said, we've started this year working with Spheros. We're working with a lot of different types of materials, and it doesn't even have to be coding. We are talking about girls mentoring reading groups. We're talking about girls mentoring dance groups. We're talking about opportunities for girls to become more involved with younger girls' lives to increase the opportunities for those girls. It doesn't have to even necessarily be STEM, although that's really what we have been trying to push. I think moving from Coding Takes Flight to this opportunity that we're calling Girls Can Too is going to be powerful. It's going to allow more females to become mentors at a much younger age. It's going to give those elementary girls much more confidence as they move into middle schools. And what our ultimate goal was is to create incredible East students that would go in, dominate schools, dominate their community, and make things happen for the people that were in need in those communities. I'd like to go back to Madeline now, if we could. She has been instrumental in what I would consider to be the bridge. Madeline has been both a mentor and a mentee, and sometimes doing both of those things at the same time. So I'd really like to get her perspective on the past, the present, and the future of the program and how she sees herself involved in that.
Yes, so last year I faced the situation where I kind of jumped in the project as we need to connect with the students, and I want to relate to the students as much as possible. And I learned all the material, and we were able to work everything out to where I was able to leave the school as much as the older students were. And we were able to build this relationship where I would be mentoring a kid, and then Catalina would come in and give me tips, or a student would ask questions and I would need help answering them from the higher education level. And we were able to have fun with the students last year, as well as also teach them. And transitioning to this year, with our first session this year, we were able to kind of figure out our rhythm and how we work as a team. And then we faced the problem for, in the future, how do I take on the bigger mentorship role, or how do I bring someone else in to help create a bigger team? And we were able to see how I can step up and bring more students in, especially the elementary students that we taught for the past 2 years, and get them more involved and then be mentors as well, so I can pass down like the domino effect that we've been trying to keep this project sustainable.
Perfect. So I think that really showcases kind of where we're at with the project and where we're trying to go. What I would really truly like to see is not only Springdale take a active interest in this program, which they have, but I'd also love to see several other East programs throughout the state of Arkansas take an interest in this. And realistically, we started this program with East in mind. We finished this program with everyone in mind. So not only East kids participating in things like this, but everyone. And we have focused on females. This program was created by females for females. That does not mean that something like this could not be done for boys. It does not mean that something like this could not be done in a mixed group. It just means that we wanted to do it a specific way, and we chose to do it that way. Honestly, I would not do it a different way to start with. I think this was a great way for us to see the needs of our female population as far as elementary girls, and needing that STEM activity and needing to have those mentors in their lives. I wouldn't change it. We did have some schools that kind of were upset with the fact that we were not including boys in the program. That's just kind of how it was last year. Our goal this year was towards the end of the school year to start moving more towards teaching some of the boys. We just didn't have that opportunity at this point. What we'd really like to see, and I think this is really the powerful component of this, is our female students that we have trained and we have mentored going back into their classrooms and being the mentors for the boys. I really feel like that female mentorship over those boys would be powerful. It would show the boys that the girls can do anything they can do, and they shouldn't have any idea that they can't. And that's kind of where we started with the name of our program, Girls Can Too. It's kind of a little play on words. It appears to say girls can't, but it does say girls can too. And we want to push that any girl, anytime can do what they want to be able to do. And I believe that's one of the most powerful components of the program. We do have several people that are a part of this program that aren't on the Zoom today. Most of those girls are seniors that are getting ready to go off to college. It's kind of upsetting that the girls didn't get to go to the conference this year and finish out their last time. And we are excited to see what happens tomorrow with some of the conference competitions, just to kind of see some friendly faces that we're used to seeing around this time, and see what they have to say about some of the work that's been accomplished over the year. Really miss out on not getting to see what other schools around the state have been working on, and talking to some of those people that we see on a regular basis. Ladies, you guys have anything else you would like to add? Miss Madeline?
One thing that I do want to say is that this program has been really powerful in and out of the classroom. And I think that we've all taken away some sort of lesson, if that's how to work the drone, or if it's how to mentor someone, or how to take in information. I think that we've all grown from the situation, and we've all grown for the program. And I'm really excited to see where we take it in the future.
So I am also very excited to see what happens with this. I will say this, I will give some contact information to our moderators. If you're interested in Girls Can Too, which is basically just an opportunity to establish more female mentors within your building, we're focusing on elementary schools. That does not mean that you have to. We love the older girls being able to come down and help. We love doing simple things. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be over the top. It's just sharing time with someone else. And I think coming out of this coronavirus pandemic and doing things like that, I think the more more we can share with others as we get on the other side of this, the better we're going to be. And programs like this and girls like this that have been working on this and opportunities that East provides are going to give us that potential to get back to normal and get to do the things we want to do. Madeline, I'm excited to see what you can do with this now that you're going to kind of take charge of it. I do have some girls that are very interested in helping you with this, and let's get this throughout Springdale this next year. And I would love to see this throughout our whole East environment. I would love to see something like this on a statewide basis for sure. And I believe that's something we're going to begin working on as soon as we can. So I want to thank everybody for coming. Please drop some questions if you have any.
Hey, it's Sarah, and I have a personal question. Just kind of, when you touched on people were like, oh, why aren't boys involved? And this is something I've personally had working with women in STEM stuff. It's like, how do you guys all respond to that? How do you educate people on like, well, actually, there's a huge gap between women in the field. So how do you guys deal with those questions like that and educate the public?
I'd love to have every one of them answer that question because I think they're all going to answer it differently. I'll answer that question at the end because it's kind of a weird question. I'm this random guy running this female program that's all about girls and getting these opportunities, which seems weird. And I'm like shoving off some boys and things like that. It's not really the case. I'd love to hear what the girls have to say about that because I think that's definitely something that they deal with in a much different way than I do. Can we just go Catalina, Natalie, Madeline in that order?
Yeah, definitely. So to start off with, we had no intention of just keeping this away from the boys like we touched on earlier. So we just wanted to show that even with this gap, we are starting with the girls. It doesn't mean we aren't going to end with both the males and females, right? We just wanted to show that they are capable of being the mentors also. We actually saw that in some of the elementary schools, being that the girls that we taught were teaching their peers, whether they're boys or girls, regardless. And we did actually have a session with boys, and we actually noticed that when we had a mixed session, the girls tended to come into their shell a little bit, and they lost that confidence that you typically would see in those sessions. So we really just wanted to show that those girls can build the confidence, but they only do that when they're really by themselves. So we had every intention of helping the boys out, but we wanted to do that after we started with the girls.
For me, I kind of saw it that the boys had all the support behind them and going into STEM, like whether it be like their dad or their mom were into STEM and they were having that push. Whereas females, it was more like, oh, you're gonna go into STEM. Oh, that's cool. You're the only girl here. So like even now, like going into college, being able to see like what everyone else's major is gonna be, you see that there's only like maybe 3 or 4 girls who are going in engineering, which is kind of bizarre considering like how big the college is. So like having that support behind the guys, behind the boys, and not having that same support system within the girls kind of like is what more motivated me being myself going into STEM in college. I want like younger girls to be able to have that same confidence going into STEM. So that was kind of like what I thought of when someone asked me why are not you guys including the boys. Like boys have the support system already placed in for them, whereas girls don't. Having this community where we're empowering one another and be able to support each other into this field that not that many girls are already involved in, and it's kind of obscure to have them in there. That's kind of where I saw it from that point of view.
And to add on to that, this is a team of females trying to connect with someone that they can relate to, and they've gone through these experiences. I never had any STEM training in elementary school like some of these girls are getting to do now. And it's showing how we can relate and have fun with these girls and uplift them and empower them. I can't relate to a 5th grade boy as much as I can relate to a 5th grade girl, and we can build the connection way easier. And I believe that it's an empowering program, and it was never meant to push away any group of people, but our goal with this was to empower people that we can relate to and that we can help get through situations.
I think that all 3 of them gave a great answer for that. we're not trying to exclude anyone. I think we ran out of time last year because we got really busy, not expecting to serve as many students as we did. Like I mentioned, our ultimate goal this year was to get back to the boys and get them some support as well. We feel like everyone needs that additional support. It just so happened that the girls were our priority. We had some comments from some of the girls we started working with that really just put it in concrete that we needed to be working with girls at this point. I have an 8-year-old daughter that gets to do these kind of things. She's been doing a lot of sphero coding and drone flying lately because she's been at home. Her mom's a microbiologist. I do East. I mean, she's got all these opportunities. In reality, most females don't have those opportunities, especially in Springdale, especially on the east side of Springdale where we all go to school or teach. It's a high poverty area. They need all of the opportunities they can get to be successful. And that's what we were pushing for them. Man, I was hoping I could get Natalie's mom, who I think's on this call, to talk about one of the impact that this program had on one of her students. Natalie, would you talk about Mariella? You're on mute.
There we go. So Mariella came on to our very first session, the 2-hour session that we originally had, the pilot. And ever since then, we kind of just started building this relationship. I think she like went through our program maybe 3 or 4 times, just being able to either be a part of it or being a leader, one of them. She was able to lead her own group at some point and have her own peers, like the people who are same age, being able to teach them how to do code, the rules for the drones, and just be able to do the whole entire system, the whole entire program by herself. So being able to see how she grew from our very first pilot session to not knowing anything and being the shy 3rd grader to the end of the year, seeing her lead her own group and being able to answer all the questions that her peers had, that was like an amazing thing to see. It's like see her completely change from this little shy little girl to this confident person who was able to lead and answer anything. Was amazing to see. I just hang out with her sometimes because of my mom. She goes to her school, and we'll just sit there and she'll start asking me like random questions about the drones. I'm like, I don't really know what's gonna happen, so like why don't we just try it out? So we just started playing out with the drones, and she had all these questions about what happens if we don't do this in the code, or what happens if we add this to the code, and just seeing like that interest and that curiosity that she had just kind of pushed and motivated me, seeing like if we can impact one student, and just being able to impact just one student, doesn't matter if it's just one or multiple, like what we're doing is making this worth it. Like we're doing something positive here and we're impacting someone. And that's what she was a great student to be able to work with.
I think that story just kind of entails the move that the East program at the Untitled School of Innovation has taken over the past few years. Catalina, this is the last time I want to pick on you. You've been in that program for a long time. You've been with me since you were in the 7th grade, girl. I don't know how you've made that happen. How, over the past couple of years, have you seen East change the way you think, but specifically referring to competition and collaboration, and how this project kind of really put it in place that we need to be doing a lot more of one than the other?
Yeah, definitely. So every year, you know, with the East Conference, we all get a little competitive about how do we kind of market our projects, how do we market our programs. And we, since last year with this project, we kind of realized that we need to be collaborating with not only different schools and projects, but with our programs and everyone around us, with different foundations and everything like that, because we noticed that the only way that we're going to thrive is if everyone else is thriving at the same time. So it's really that point of making sure that you just want your competitor to be on the same level as you are, if you can help that out. You want to be competing, right, with someone that's at your same level rather than when they're at their weakest point. So that's really what we've kind of taken away from this.
And Madeline, one last thing from you also. I want you to talk about the joy. Actually, all 3 of you can comment on this if you want to. The joy that my 4th grade girls have when they see you or get to do things with you guys. I want you to talk about that, because that really hits home the importance of collaboration.
Yeah, I grew up with a little sister in the house, so I've always been used to having a lot of fun and doing fun projects. But getting to see Ward's kids this past year, being able to see them light up a room every time that they get to see one of us is so exciting. And we all love hugging them and love talking to them. They are such bright children, and they have been able to bring so many fresh ideas into a conversation and learn so much from each one of us, that they are beginning to learn that they can do whatever they want. They can start a company, they can do all this stuff, and they've shared these ideas with us, and seeing their excitement makes all of us excited, and we can move that into the future and keep pushing creativity and excitement about what you're doing. And it never feels like we have to watch them, we have to listen to them. It's always a joy to see them grow and learn.
Natalie, how many times did you get projects pitched to you this year?
I don't know. I lost count after a while. For me, I'm the youngest in my family, and I'm not that young anymore. I'm 18. So like I'm not really surrounded by younger students or younger kids as much. So being able to have like that connection with the younger elementary students was a big deal for me. Like elementary environment compared to high school environment is completely different. Even like the way students handle themselves or even talk. Talking to the younger students really brought out this like more goofier side of me, or even more like light-hearted side of me. And being able to see that part of me still there and be able just to talk to and have a great time was amazing for me. I loved hanging out with the students, whether it be we were just talking about conference or getting together to talk about projects or anything like that. Just being around them was completely just changed the whole entire day. Like it was like a highlight of one of my days, or like the week, depending how much time I saw them or spent with them. It was amazing being able to work with the younger students and getting like what they thought about some project, or like what their insight was, because their perspective from our perspective is completely different. Like they come up with ideas that we didn't even think about, or even solutions to problems that we had no idea like that was even a problem or anything like that. Like their way of thinking is so different from ours, and being able to have like just a little bit of their help made the biggest difference, in my opinion.
So to me, that sounds like moms talking about their kids. And I really think that's important, because that's the power of mentoring. When my kids talk about these girls, it sounds like kids talking about their parents, or kids talking about their older sisters. There's just so much joy and excitement. And that's really what we're trying to push here. This has been a great program. We are gonna kind of go through some changes. We're moving away from drones. We're moving into a little bit easier coding for everybody to practice with. The important thing here is getting out there, talking to people, helping people, mentoring people, whether it's girls mentoring girls, boys mentoring boys, it doesn't matter. We're out there to try to push mentoring, supporting each other, caring about each other, and building community. We were really fortunate to be in a great community in Springdale, filled with these programs that helped support this program as well, and got to talk to 1,100 kids about life. We got to share ourselves with that many kids, and that's something that is powerful. And that's really why we feel this program is such a great program, and something that we feel should be continued on in the future. I think we may be good, unless there's any other questions.
Yeah, everyone feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A portion of the Zoom, or if you're on Facebook, you could post it down in the comments. But while we're waiting on questions to come through, I have another question for each of the girls. What are your hopes and dreams? What are your plans for after high school as of now?
So I'm a senior.
Madeline, yeah, go
Okay.
here. Yeah, start with the seniors. Natalie, go for it.
So I'm a senior. I'm going to the U of A this upcoming fall. I'm majoring in biomedical engineering. So it's very into STEM, if you ask me. It's very STEMy. So being able to I want to go into STEM and continue to empower women, like having that impact that I had with the younger students, just continue giving back to my community and having that as well. I want to continue. I want eventually go into graduate school, maybe go into antibody engineering or genome engineering. I haven't really decided as to what I want to do. I know I want to go into bio and engineering. So it's kind of all over the place still.
I think we might have lost Catalina for a second. Why don't you go ahead and go, Madeline?
Okay, I get asked this question a lot. I don't really have an exact plan anymore, especially being introduced to East last year. I got a whole bunch of ideas and a whole bunch of new careers thrown at me. And I definitely want to go into something in engineering. That's always been one of my passions. I come from a family of engineers and scientists. So I've been surrounded by it my entire life, and I'm really excited to get into something like that. But for now, I want to stick to learning as much as possible on each subject and figuring that out along the way.
Catalina, why don't you tell us what you got going on for the next year?
I'm still in the process of choosing where to go for school. I've been accepted to 3 really great schools, and right now I'm really between going to University of Colorado Denver or going to Massachusetts and Boston. And really the only drive that I have going to Denver at the moment is that I have the ability to do 2 that I love and I think I'm good at, which is both business and engineering. So it's really just trying to choose between that, but I'll have an answer for you by May 1st.
These girls all have great futures. There's so many of them that are graduating this year. One of our other major contributors, Sarah Manos, is going to MIT in the fall. There's others there's just, the girls have been so great, not only working with the younger ones, but also just making sure that they're taking care of themselves and what their personal needs are to get themselves to where they need to be for that next level. So any other questions we'd be happy to answer?
What would you say to a young girl that is interested in STEM and coding and all that fun stuff, but maybe intimidated by it?
I'll go if you mind. So I would personally say just go for it. Coming from someone who thought I never could do it, I can never have the potential to be that kind of person. Even growing up in East, I was like, I still am not capable of doing that. I would just go for it. You don't know what that future holds until you try it out. I mean, don't say no for yourself. So.
And one thing I want to add to that, when I first met Kat, she said that she can only write emails and that was all she can do. That was at the beginning of the 2018 school year. And now I look up to her both in engineering and in all things STEM because she has really grown in her knowledge. And I was really scared at the beginning because I had only done basic drag and drop coding. I don't know how to figure everything out, but getting to learn these things from these wonderful women now, it's been great. And I definitely don't think that you should be scared. It is a lot, but there are so many opportunities and you'll find something that you're comfortable with and grow into what you can do.
I would say just to continue to stick with it, keep pushing through it. No one ever started off being amazing at a skill without practice. Being able to continue like practicing and working is going to get you to where you want. So I would just tell them to continue with it, even if you have all these obstacles. Like, keep working towards your goal and being able to accomplish it.
And I think one of the most important things as far as that goes is find somebody that's going to support you. Find somebody that will support you. Stick with them. Let them help you. I think lots of times we don't try to find help. So we try to do things on our own, and that's really hard. Try to find somebody that will help you and let them help you. I think that's really important. Madeline, I think I might have been one of the ones that kind of propagated the idea that Catalina only knew how to email. Catalina, where'd you go last summer? What were you doing last summer? You were doing some engineering work as far as I can tell.
So yeah, last summer I do a lot with robotics. I'm on my school's robotics team and we do summer camps for younger kids. So that involves a lot of mentoring as it is, but also you have to learn those STEM and engineering practices too. So just with that robotics kind of engineering, with the past couple of years, thinking I could only write emails, like Madeline said, to kind of being that lead mechanical aspect to the team. So.
Great. Any other questions?
We have a question from Facebook. Mac asks, and it's kind of along the same lines of what we were talking about, what made you guys love doing coding? And what advice would you give to a new woman programmer?
I'm going to let all of them answer, but I was just going to jump in real quick. I don't know that any of them got into this because they liked coding, but I'll let them answer that. I think the coding's fun. I'm not saying the coding's not fun or that people shouldn't do coding, but I'm not sure. And they might tell us something different. I'm not 100% sure they got into it just because of the coding. I think they might have got into it for other reasons. Although if you want to be doing coding, you need to do it because that's a language that will pay you for a long time to come. Let's do, I don't know who wants to answer that. You guys just jump in how you want to.
So when we started the program, I was in my first programming class. So that's when I got my introduction to coding. And that's kind of when I realized that coding was not for me. Like I was able to complete my tasks and everything, but it was not something that I could just say I enjoy doing it. It's like my passion. It's not. But I started kind of get into this because it was block coding, which is pretty simple. And I was learning Python in my programming class, which is completely different to block coding. So going from, I've seen like how much coding is involved in STEM or like how much there's a need for coding. Being able to like help the younger girls even just get interested in coding would be a big thing for me. Knowing if I would have started younger in coding, probably made a difference as to my opinion on it now. Being able to getting into coding now. So giving just them the opportunity, just the taste of it to see if they like it or not, and not being like in my age and knowing that you do not like it at all. It's kind of like why I got into it, not necessarily for the coding part, but more like just giving them like the support system and like, just empowering them as in general to go into it if they want to.
Okay. I just wanted to say I didn't join because of the coding. I mean, I've done the similar style of coding, but I joined because Ward came up to me and said, "Do you want to hang out with a whole bunch of girls and teach people?" And I was like, "I'm in." I've always loved being a mentor to anyone, and this was just an opportunity to learn more about coding and then also talk to a whole bunch of people with beautiful ideas. And the coding just came along with it, and I've gained an interest in it. But if you are wanting to go into the coding field, do it. I think it's so great for you. It might not be what I do in the future, but I think that as long as we have people interested in it, it can grow and be a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything to add to that. Kind of piggyback. I didn't join for coding, and it definitely probably isn't in my future. But if you think it's in yours, just stick with it and keep going with it, because it's something that I don't think I'll ever get into. But it was definitely something I'm glad I kind of started off with because of Coding Takes Flight.
The reason I kind of jumped in there and said I don't think they were doing this for coding is because I think I know all three of these girls pretty well, and I think Madeline really hit the nail on the head. They wanted to help people any way they could. That's what their background is. I remember working with Catalina as a 7th grade student at Snort Middle School. Her passion was helping people however she could, any way she could. And I think this program really gave them a chance to help people that they thought needed some help. These kids are really true East kids. They know what it is. They know what it's about. And like we've talked about over the last 30, 45 minutes, they've really put their heart and soul into a lot of the work that they've done to get very little benefit for themselves, but give a lot of benefit to other people. And I really think that's what the heart of East is. Any other questions?
All right. Another question. Who are your mentors and what piece of advice have you received from them that was the most helpful?
Girls, I'll let you go.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and start off then. I've known Ward. He was kind of my first piece of knowing who people were when I moved to Arkansas, when I was in 7th grade and such. And since I've known him, the best advice from him was wing it. So, and I know that's probably bad to think of, but he's the reason I had the confidence I have today. I was very shy when I came to Arkansas when I was younger, and to see who I've become today is for no other reason than from the sport. So really just wing it and believing in yourself is one of the best pieces of advice you've given me.
So for me, it's been from one of my previous math teachers. She has her degree in physics. She has her master's in physics. So she was my math teacher for about 3 or 4 years, and seeing how she kept pushing me to go into STEM, like either math or engineering, she kept telling me like, Natalie, there's a big need for them, especially female. Knowing you being able to speak Spanish and also being to go into STEM, like that's a big thing right now. You need to be able to take advantage of this and go into STEM right now when there's a big need for it, especially for females. So seeing how like she kept pushing me and telling me you have to stick with it, and just having that love already for math, and just having her like behind me and like just keep pushing me and being there with any question that I had, or being like for helping me with colleges or anything like that. Just having that support system for me and just always being there for me for any questions that I had helped tremendously. She kind of helped me figure out what I wanted to do with college and just what path I wanted to take, giving me advice as to what to major. Originally I wanted to major in mathematics, and she's told me not to do that. So she's just giving me advice. And that advice just kind of took it to heart, knowing that she was also there at some point. And I'm really grateful for that.
I want to say that my mentors were Ward, because he kind of brought me down. I was always very eager when it came to East, and I always wanted to be part of something. And he would sit me down. He'd be like, I want you to do this. I want you to learn from this situation. And then also Kat was a really big influence on me for the past year, because she would come in during our East class and she would drop everything to help us with situations. I know we were figuring everything out when it comes to writing emails to business partners, or even trying to figure out personal things. She was always willing to help us through situations and sit there and talk to us. When we were trying to figure out stuff for our resume, she would sit down and help us out. So I think that the connection that we had between students is really important, and between our teachers.
Guys, I appreciate the fact that you think I'm your mentor, but you just got thrown in with me and got stuck there. I don't know anything else. Every one of these girls comes from great families. They've been surrounded by great teachers. They've got great friends. They're not lacking for mentors. I think that's kind of where we're at. They're not our target audience, right? Our target audience are the ones that really need the support and need the help. Those 3rd, 4th, 5th grade kids that are in a low income schools, that are poverty stricken, that are at home right now, not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring. They need to see that they can accomplish whatever they want. And girls like these 3 and the rest of the girls that work on this program are the epitome of what you can do if you work hard, if you try, and if you have confidence and faith in yourself. And I think that's really where it's important. I love these girls to death, but they've been more impactful on me than I have on them. And we'll take any other questions you guys want.
Okay, on Facebook, Troy is a facilitator for a middle school program, and she asks, my students usually start with drag and drop coding, for instance, code.org. What advice could you give me as a facilitator to push them to the next level? What resources do you find helpful?
So for me, and the girls can kind of respond to this if they want to, I think my problem always when I tried to code was there just wasn't really any reward to it. I never got far enough along in any kind of coding session to get to the end of something, to get that reward. When you're coding the drones or you're coding the spheros, each of which is really a very small cost, you get that immediate reaction. You get that immediate response. We have a video that I believe got posted in the link somewhere in here that Natalie did that was up for Video of the Year this year. And you can just see the excitement in the girls' faces when they tell the drone to do a flip and it does it. I think that giving them the carrot at the end of the stick is really important with the coding. Now the girls can respond to this. They might feel something different. I think getting involved with coding without that major desire to be a coder is hard because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of typing. It's a lot of effort without a lot of reward until the very end. When you break it down to something that's more physical, more tangible, more something that they can touch and feel, you know, an $80 Sphero or an $80 drone that's codable makes a big difference. We were really lucky with our program to get a big $2,000 STEM grant last year that helped. I was pulling money out of a couple of different budget funds for drones in the East. We made it happen. You can make something like that happen with the tangible pieces for a pretty insignificant cost if you really think about it. With an iPad and a Sphero, you can do a lot of cool things. And I think that we showed that more this year when we're moving towards our Girls Can Too motto, where we did a lot more of that Sphero coding. I think that having that something that they can see, feel, and kind of get excited about what it's doing, I think that makes a big difference in the coding aspect. Now, I'd love to hear what the girls think about that, though.
Yeah, I've got to agree with Ward. Like you said, you don't really have that reward till the end. And most people, just like me, they want to see it. They want to feel it. They want to touch it and stuff. And like I said, I didn't join this project because of the coding, but getting to kind of learn a little bit more about it was really helpful for me, because I can teach, my younger cousins how to program, because I know the basics of it. And it's also really helpful because a lot of programs that start off drag and drop, like with the drone blocks that we use for our drones, it will let you kind of change it to like Python, what's like in those formats of music. So you get a chance to look, what it looks like in Java, or different coding languages, whatever you want to like get into. So even if you wanted to do something a little bit more skill than just a drag and drop, you have that and see what it looks like and do it in Python rather than just in that drag and drop.
Yeah, and I would like to say that we try to hit on every style of learning. We try to have the girls draw out stuff. We try to have them actually type in and do things, handle the drone. That's the way that we are able to learn with these students, but it does offer the feature where you are able to make it more advanced. But I do not have the personal experience into expanding on coding.
I have to agree with what Mr. Ward said. Like for me personally, to be able to continue with coding, I have to see the result right away. So like whether it be like playing a game and like having a competition, or be able to code something faster, just being interactive is what gets me. So like being able to go ahead and play a game, or like have a concept or something that I'm coding for, is what kind of grabs my attention and keeps pushing me to continue with coding.
Now, keep in mind, please, that we're for people that aren't coders. Like we feel like we need to see that. If you already have that drive to code, I think each step that you have in the coding process can be exciting as watching the drone flip. We're just not at that kind of coding level. I am way lower at a coding level than these guys are. The drag and drop boxing, that's my wheelhouse. I can do that. I can show my second grade daughter how to do that. That's comfortable. As you progress, you're going to have more enjoyment, I think, out of each line of code that you write. To get the group that we had, trying to get them started, we really needed that carrot. We really needed that immediate impact, that immediate effect. And we'll be happy to take any more questions.
All right. Here's a question. What has being a mentor taught you guys about yourself?
So getting a chance to be a mentor for me is proving that I just want to be what I was never able to have, showing that I want to be the support system that a lot of kids may not have, or even if they do, just have friends who kind of help with. So it's kind of shown me that I'm learning from them just as much as they learn from me.
So for me personally, kind of what Kat said is like being that support system that you've never had. Like both of my parents are a great support system, but none of them are in STEM. So like being the person who was like heavily involved in STEM, like as a younger student, like math was my go-to, so was science. So like growing up and seeing like having that huge interest in it, and like them not really knowing like that much about it. So like just being able to like give back to like this to like the younger students, and like showing them like, hey, yeah, I was like in your shoes too. Like I love math, but I don't know what to do with it. Like I don't know what other activities there's to do, anything like that. So just like being that person who I didn't have when I was younger is what kind of motivates me and kind of pushes me through it, showing them that you can do this too. Like this could be you in the future. Like having that support system for them as well.
Being a mentor has shown me how much excitement I get from seeing others succeed after I've helped them through something. And especially with these girls, seeing them light up after they have completed something, or even just figuring out a math problem that they didn't understand at the beginning, really got me to the point where I was like, I need to keep doing this, and I want to help create a domino effect, and I want to help others understand things, because I always get so excited about it, and it's always been so much fun.
Right. Anything else?
Yeah. Have you found a way to combine a hobby or a passion with coding?
I mean, for me, it was the drones. I've been flying drones for, I don't know, the last 5 or 6 years. Started with another East kid of mine, Caden Carino, who was like, "Hey, we need to buy a drone and we need to fly it." And I said, "Sure, let's do it." So we started flying drones and wrecking drones. But I think that kind of stimulated my desire to push drones where I could. Drones have always kind of been a sticky subject with East. There's a lot of reasons why. We found some workarounds. We found that if you're flying drones inside, the FAA doesn't own the airspace. And we found some drones that were really usable for our purpose. And I think for me, the interest was the drones. When I started getting some emails from some people about some different kinds of ways to code drones and do some things like that, so that's when I started looking into what that process could look like, and got some of my students interested in it as well. But for me, I think it's always been the concept of flight, the concept of making something do something that you told it to do but didn't physically make it do, and I think that's kind of neat. But for me, I think it was always the drones. Um, I used the same drones in my drones class as we did in the program in the East world, and they were relatively a new commodity as we started last year. Natalie took my drones course the year before, and we didn't have those little drones. They weren't around at that point. Um, that to me was my hobby that got me into that. As far as for me. Now the girls might have something different. Let them go ahead and answer that if they want to.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, robotics team at school, and so since a lot of us are seniors on the team, we are trying to teach our younger students how to kind of take on those lessons in those positions. And so just having that concept of kind of having that base knowledge of coding from Coding Takes Flight, and seeing what those other languages kind of look like, I'm able to kind of help them along those beginning processes, seeing where they are troubleshooting wrong or anything like that. And then also just in my own family, being able to teach, like I said, my younger cousins how to do like Sparrow work or drone block coding.
I have not personally had any hobbies or anything interests that have led me to coding. Like I mentioned before, coding is not. I'm able to do coding if it's for an assignment, but it's not something that I would just go out and do on my own. The only thing I have done is go into online game and try to change the code on it to make it play into my favor. That's the most I've done outside of coding, outside of school.
Yeah, and I just want to add that all of the projects that we have in our East program have been about personal interests, whether that be counseling for social and emotional learning, or drones for Coding Takes Flight. We all have certain interests, and I'll all bring it to the table for ideas. And that is our main drive: is I want you to do something that you're interested in, not something that we force you to do. And it has been growing in that area, especially with one of our students from this past year who has been starting to work more with aeronautics.
All right, well, we're right at 1:59, so we'll begin to start wrapping up. Thank you guys so much for joining us and talking about this project. This has been awesome. So I'm gonna slide it on over to April with some closing stuff. You there, April?
Having a little difficulties with the mute. I was reading this really great comment from a facilitator on Facebook. Sylvia says, as a facilitator at the school where these ladies presented their program and became mentors to my students, I can't express how powerful this is for our younger students. Their confidence soars through the roof. They start believing in themselves and are willing to try things they may not have even thought about trying. It's pretty incredible to witness. Thank you, Sylvia, for sharing that with our community today. Okay. Before we leave, again, we want to thank everyone that took the time to tune in to the East Conference 2020 #PlayOn Breakout sessions. Thank you to all of our speakers and panelists for today, taking the time to inspire some of our viewers. And lastly, thank you to our sponsor, Windstream, for making our virtual series possible. We have one last thing left in our virtual series of things. It is tomorrow. We're calling it our virtual celebration. It's at 1 p.m. So make sure you tune back into our Facebook to see the live of our virtual celebration to end our play on time together. I don't think our play on time will ever end, but that'll be one of our final events for this. Before you leave today, make sure you check in the chat to take the survey, the breakout session survey, to tell us how you enjoyed today's session, as well as the other sessions that you'll be able to find on YouTube in the coming days. If you have any questions or you're interested in getting more information about East, you can email us at eastinfo@eaststaff.org. And to learn more about what our students are doing, make sure you follow us on social media at The East Initiative or visit our website at eastinitiative.org. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you again to Wade and the ladies. And we will see you all back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. for our #PlayOn virtual celebration.